Hello everyone, and a warm welcome to all of you participants. I myself Siddharth, I'm going to be the instructor for this course and I'm going to be the presenter for this program for the day. So first thing I'm going to introduce about myself, then I will continue the discussion of this uh, presentation and the demonstration as well. So during this, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me your questions during the session at any given point of time. You can also use your chat here into the chat. You can drop your question and I'll take your questions. If not, to the later part of the session, I'm going to take your questions and we can discuss in detail. So once again, thank you all. Thanks to all the participants for making to this part of the session. So let me take a quick minute to introduce about myself. I'm a certified Azure Data Engineer, is DP203, and as part of this certification, I work with the client where my job role is to go ahead and build the pipelines onto the Azure Cloud Platform involving Azure services like Data Factory, Databricks, Synapse, Data Lake, HD Insights, and so on. So I have to go ahead and work with the clients by building the pipelines and helping to get meaningful insights from the data. So I have totally about 10 plus years of working experience and around 8 plus years of working experience on Azure, and I've been working as a data engineer for the last 8 years. Okay, so with that, people, once again, thank you. Now I'm going to go ahead and set the agenda for today. The agenda for today is Microsoft is offering a cloud practice, which is the Microsoft Cloud Services. Under that, there is a training and a certification module which is given by which is given by the name called AZ Data Engineer Associate. So this is the agenda for today's session. That is how to go ahead and become yourself a data engineer. Participants, are we good? Can I have a quick yes from all of you into the chat before I continue? Participants, am I good? Can we continue? Okay. Now, I'll ask you a few questions. What is exactly for you is a data engineer? See, you have decided to come for a course on Azure Data Engineer. You want to build a skill. Now, what made you to take up this skill that you want to become a data engineer? Or what is data engineering for you? If someone wants to open up their mic and answer this question, please feel free to share your thoughts about it. Participants, how about?
Hello,
Yes, please.
that's Chandrasekhar here. Uh, from my understanding, data engineering is something like the world which is in this world, data which is generated, huge data. We have to manage them like storage, like in an inventory or in a logistic place wherein we store some like to utilize the complete storage. Okay, in a layman's language, we are trying to minimize wastage of storage and huge advantage of but that is on a, my right.
Okay, so you are
Hello.
somewhere close. Thank you very much. Yeah, Chandrasekhar, you were very close. Thank you very much. So let me go ahead and tell you my interpretation. I'm not going to go ahead and highlight about what exactly it is, but I'll give you a real life scenario that has changed my thought about a data engineer. So participants, we all know that real life example. It's nothing to do with data engineers. So the point that I is like, if you have been to what do you call it as, I'll use a to describe it. What is my point? So participants, I hope you have been to lot of plants where, for example, the water plant. The concept that I want to highlight here is of water plant. So what does these water plants do? These water plants are responsible for getting the water from sources. What are the sources for the water plants? The water that is available as part of the river, seas, everything, these water plants get us the filter water to drink. What is that they get? They get us the filter water to drink. So without filtering, would you be going ahead and drinking the water which is contaminated? No, because the water is so contaminated you cannot drink it. So you want something which is filtered water. So what you want is you want to have a filtered water, like Evian. They go ahead and sell, like Himalayan, Evian, these brands sell the filtered water. So what is that exactly? You get to see the difference from this filter water to that of the water that is available as part of the water that is kept in the water plants. The water gets cleaned from stage to stage, from one part of the stage to other part of the stage. They clean it and they make it to have it as a consumption, like a drinkable water. We call it as we can drink that water. Now, why did I go ahead and highlight this concept is this concept gives you an idea where the water is available in the form of a lake. Correct? The water is available in the form of a lake. From that lake, these water plants will create something like pipelines. They get the water from these pipelines and then they filter via the process and they go ahead and give us something in the form of a drinking water so that we can drink that water. So, if you go ahead and understand this logic, it becomes very easy for you to understand the data engineering also. So if you look at a data engineer, the data engineer is supposed to do all these tasks by himself. What is that? He is expected to get the data from a particular source. We call it as a source. I need to get the data from a particular source. From that source, what I need to do is I need to go ahead and get the data cleansed. That means there is a lot of data that might not be always useful for me. So I need to go ahead and cleanse that data. Then once the data gets cleansed here, what I need to do is I need to go ahead and make sure that the data is presented in the form of something rich visual dashboards that people can consume that, like the CEO of the company can consume, like the CTO of the company can consume. They want to see the analytics, like how well the company is performing, how bad is the project performing. So they want to go ahead and take some decisions based upon what they consume in the form of dashboard. So what are the components? A lake where the data was available. Process was about to cleanse the data. We were transforming the data. We are making the data so that it is consumable. It is in the form of rich visual dashboards. So participants, did you understand the way that I want you to understand the concept of data engineer? So the word data engineer means he will go ahead and get the data from a particular source. He would go ahead and cleanse it. He will go ahead and make it more usable towards a project, and then they will make valuable insights of that data and get the data displayed onto the visualization. Like a water plant getting the data from the water sources, like a lake, cleanse it, add some some ingredients to make it more taste like drinking water and make it so much that they pack it and they make it available for consumption for people. So participants, did you understand a very easier way for you to understand the concept of a data engineer? Everyone, participants, are we good?
Yes,
Now
Siddharth.
let's go
Yes,
ahead.
Siddharth.
Welcome. Now let's go ahead and see what exactly Microsoft is telling us. What is Microsoft telling? So Microsoft is telling us that if you want to go ahead and get yourself to be called as a data engineer, it says that you go ahead and add a skill of yourself, which is a DP203. So what is basically calling you? It is calling you to go ahead and build a skill as a certification. Now Microsoft says you can become a data engineer. Anybody can become a data engineer. You can become, I can become, even anyone who is from non-IT background also can become a data engineer. But for that, they need to understand certain skills. What skills they need to understand? A very, very important skill that they need to understand is they need to understand storing of the data. They call it as data storage. The skills they will check: data storage. Participants, are you with me, everyone? They want you to become a data engineer. So when they want you to become a data engineer, they will check your skill. Okay, I have to certify Siddharth is a data engineer, Azure data engineer. So Siddharth should have a skill of storing the data. Now, data storage is a very big term. Let me just go ahead and help you to understand from Azure what is storage. Now, to understand storage, first question can should Microsoft or any other service will ask, what do you want to store? You want to store water? No, no, it's not water. You want to store data. No, what kind of data? Raw data. What is raw data? The raw data can be structured. That means if you're very lucky, you might get the data in the form of a table. What is a table? Employee table, orders table, generic tables, sales table, customers information table, payments table. All that is available in the form of structure. That is structure, right? There are table structure or in the form of an image, customers receipts, customer photos, customers reviews. Nowadays we have audio videos. Nowadays we are able to make purchases from the online using our mobile phone and the apps, and also from the portal, as well as we are now able to make it via our commands. You put a command, that command gets executed by your system. Recent introduction is Meta AI. In your WhatsApp, if you have noticed, there is something called a feature called Meta AI. That Meta AI can help you to do your tasks. That means your data is now getting structured. No, it is very much unstructured. Messages, audio, images, video, very great examples for it. Now the question that I wanted, or the way that I want to understand is, when you are building a skill of a data engineer, Microsoft asks you what you want to store, data storage. So for that, first classify whether you want to store your structure or unstructured. So now let me take you into Microsoft Azure, which is portal.azure.com. So participants, if you are not sure about what is this, this is the live practice that you will be doing in your jobs, connecting to the account and practicing the same way that I go ahead and connect to my account and practice it. Even you have to get an account created. That part we'll discuss later. Now, for now, we have this concept of Microsoft Azure, which is portal.azure.com, where we are trying to go ahead and practice all of it. Or we work. This is the place we have to work to become a data engineer. Everything, even in your job, also you will be given an account. Now, first thing is, let's go ahead and say, hey, I have a structured data to store. Structure, I just go ahead and mention as the word structure. I may not get the service just like structure. There is no word called structure here. Everything is unstructured, infrastructure, structure, and unstructured data. No, this not a way straight service that is available. Now let's break down. What is that I said? Structure means some kind of structure, like a table structure. Now let's go ahead and ask, will this Azure stores my data in the form of a table? Yes, it does stores, but this is something related to storage account, which is something that you can see here, that is of purely tables. Route table is networking concept. So I have a storage account. So in this storage, I can go ahead and store my data. What kind of data? Structured data. So I have some storage accounts right now in my system. I have some storage. How to create it? Don't worry. You are not required to create anything storage. Just watch out. Let me open up a storage account. In that, it'll ask, what do you want to store? I want to store tables. So this is a table. I can get started to create a table and store it. So just give a table name and it will store the table. Fine. But in real life, storage is not just only part of cloud storage. There are databases that are available to store your tables. So those databases, we call it as relational databases, like a SQL database, MySQL, MSC. So what these databases will do, these databases will store many tables. This is also a table, but this is not greatly recommended. What are the reasons? Don't go into those reasons. But in real projects, companies want to store the data in the form of a database. What kind of database? Structured databases, SQL databases. So if you go ahead and store your data as part of a SQL database, then you can see the tables in that inside it. Once you can store your tables, that's your structured data storage. Now, sometimes data might not be available to you in the form of structure. For example, you might not have seen it, but MongoDB examples. I'll show you an example of a MongoDB. So MongoDB is what? It is also a database, but this does not store the data in the form of tables. It does store the data in the form of documents. See, there is a document. In that document, student, John, intermediate address of the student. But what happens in a SQL database? In a SQL database, you get to see the data stored in the form of a table, clear table, student table. So if you look at students table in SQL and NoSQL. So what happens in a SQL? You will see the table. There will be a table to store. But what happens in NoSQL? The data stores in the form of documents, unstructured documents. Now, what are the benefits? There are a lot of benefits. Companies may store in SQL databases, company might store in NoSQL databases. For now, I'm not going into those details, but I'm trying to go ahead and answer a question, that is, if I'm supposed to go ahead and build a skill in Azure as a data engineer, I'm supposed to go ahead and store the data. Question comes is, what is that you want to store? I want to store my structured, I want to store my unstructured. So what is structured? Table storages. Unstructured, documents. There are other methods, but very popular is document storage. So participants, have you understood now how to go ahead and use Azure to store your data in the form of tables you can store, in the form of databases you can store, in the form of documents you can store, in the form of storage accounts you can store. I hope participants, am I clear with the data storage? Participants, am I clear with the data storage, everyone?
Yes, Siddharth.
Okay. Now, data is stored. Tell me people, if you go ahead and get a movie downloaded from internet, will that movie will get watched out by you just like that? It's also storage, right? You are downloading from internet, you got a movie from internet, you downloaded it, you are about to watch it. Unless until you start to watch it, it won't play, it won't get played, right? Do you think the moment you download it, it will start playing for you? No, you have to go to a player, open it up, and then you have to put some settings. What is this amount of volume? What is the screen resolution? Then it will start to play. The same way, data that is available to you will not tell you how good is your business. You have to go ahead and process it, right? For example, if you have sales every day, every hour you are making sales. But what is that sales profitable? Is that something that it is incurring no profit? Is that incurring more amount? Maybe you are buying bulk stock items, but you are selling at less margin. That means you are not making profit. So how do you go ahead and sell? Total number of sales minus the stock. So you'll get to see the profit. So you have to do analysis. So to do analysis, the data is available in Azure. That means you need to now start to focus on processing the data so that you can analyze the data. Am I good to all of you people? Now you would start taking the processing of the data so that you can start getting meaningful insights from the data. That is where you will start trying to go ahead and run queries. So what is that query? You try to run something called SQL queries. You write a SQL query. What is a SQL query? If you're very much new to this, a developer or developers, they go ahead and write something like select statement, select orders, select users, select, and they'll get the results, right? You need to write a query, select star from customer, you'll get the customer data, you'll get the customer information. Select star from employee data. So you'll write some select statements. Select statements are written. I want to select a particular row. What is the maximum salary? What is the minimum salary? What is the total sum of the sales minus the stock? So you will write and you'll get the outcome. So this is what is your total sales. This is what is your total So some kind of SQL queries. So this SQL queries are very important to go ahead and do processing on your data. Now, very important thing, participants, that I want to highlight is that this query that you want to write is only workable most of the time for your structured data. What happens now? You tell me, people, if you have an image, can you go ahead and run a SQL query on an image? If you have an image, will you be able to go ahead and run a query on that image?
No, sir.
Why? SQL, the term itself is telling you, Arey Baba, SQL means structure query language. The data should be structured. Now, what I said, image is unstructured. Then how can you go ahead and run queries on an image? How can you go ahead and run your queries on a document? And to your surprise, people, 80% of the data, the ratio of structure to that of unstructured in the current world. You know how much? 80 is to 20. More than that. The world that we live in, right? We have data which is almost everything of the data today, world data is almost 80% of the data is unstructured. Only 20% of the data that we see today is structured. Why? The usage of cloud raised, the usage of social media has raised. Today we share a lot of videos, we share a lot of images. So imagine how much of data is getting generated per second if you see terabytes of data. So most of the data is unstructured. Now the problem is we are very good at handling structured data. That means if the table is given, if the process is given, we will be able to handle it. But the problem that we have is 80% of the data is unstructured. So now companies focus that no, this is not the way to go ahead and handle it. We need un, we need some more strong tools to do the processing. We need more strong processing capabilities. And that's where Google came as a first company to get started with this concept called Hadoop. Hadoop was the first solution they introduced. Now, what is Hadoop? Don't go into all those details. So, keeping the data, they decided to go ahead and bring this concept. The data is so big, they decided to get this Hadoop concept. Hadoop was also doing programming, but a very different way. Hadoop was there for last, somewhere around 2010, 2011, and then they started to go ahead and became irrelevant because it was very slow. Hadoop was very slow for processing. Then came the top 10 processing engines for big data. Now, to your surprise, participants, today the world is using Apache Spark. Actually, it was Hadoop was the top one, but very much slowly, companies or the the quantity or the quantum of Apache Spark raised to a very huge spike that today it is the number one big data processing engine. Everyone, are you with me? So if you look at the processing engine, SQL is gonna be always there, but SQL is that it is good for your structure. Now I have a very much data that we call it as big data, right, in the form of structured and unstructured. Traditional systems are not going to be helpful. So what is that we need? We need very much stronger tools, very much powerful, very much fast tools. Now, Hadoop was dominating this space for 2010 or 11, but after that, Apache Spark has changed the landscape because it becomes more faster, 100 times faster than your Hadoop. Hadoop is maintained by Apache. Spark is also maintained by Apache, so both of them are part of. But the usage of Apache Spark stands on to be on the top. So participants, whenever you get to hear this word called processing, what should come to your mind? What is that it should spark? Now, why should I go ahead and talk? and start using Spark. I want to go ahead and use Spark. So let me go ahead and type called Spark. The moment I go ahead and write Spark, Azure says, "Hey, good morning, Siddharth. I am ready to help you to run your Spark using Databricks and Synapse." Participants, everyone are with me? See how smart is Azure? Azure knows that Siddharth and his company will go ahead and sure they will use Spark. Now, if I have to go sell them Spark solutions, let's go ahead and give them Spark in the form of a service called Azure Databricks or Azure Synapse. So these two services are very popular to get an offering for Apache Spark. Why? Because that is a topmost engine for big data processing. Now you see people, storage is given by Azure, processing is given by Azure. Will you go out of Azure? Will you go out of Azure? Not required. So let's assume that your company is a Microsoft partner company. Definitely your companies, if you're working, there is a very great chance that they will be definitely somewhere or the other related to Microsoft as a partner. Maybe a company, maybe a service company, maybe a product company, but they will have some or the other Microsoft. So if Microsoft comes to your company and say, "Hey, we are offering you our big data solutions in the form of storage solutions and Spark solutions. You're planning to build data engineers around Azure. So here we have everything for you. So you can make your employees to be called as Azure data engineers because we offer them storage and services and Spark-based solution for processing." So welcome everyone to the pathway for Azure Data Engineering TP203. So participants, am I good to all of you? Hello? Participants, am I good to all of you?
Yes,
Yes.
Siddharth.
If you have understood something, if you have understood something, can someone highlight what did you understand? What you have understood? Even if it's wrong, you're not going to get a job now. I'm just asking you, what did you understand? Can someone open up their mic and answer my question?
Hi, Siddharth. This is Chaitanya.
Yes, Chaitanya, please. I'm very happy.
Yeah, yeah. As of now, what I am understanding is what are the options to store the structured and unstructured data in Azure and how to process the data by using like some data bricks and mostly like the options and features of the Azure, Siddharth.
Very good. We should appreciate Hari. His understanding was very correct. That's what I've been discussing. Okay, participants, am I good? Hari and other people, are we good, everyone?
Yes.
I hope you also
Yeah.
have understood the same thing what has Hari understood. Storage services offered from Azure, processing services offered under Azure, and what are their category and what are the name of the services. Now the question is, can you, that means you as an individual that you want to build, can you build that skill? Now I'll tell you the secret how to go ahead and understand the subject of the skill. So Microsoft Azure says that if you have understood this, we will give you a path. We want you to understand the path. What is that path? This is a secret, or not secret, but this is the easiest way to learn things. So what Microsoft Azure says, you start your learning journey today, and next 1 month from now, you should become a certified Azure data engineer. So this is your target. You want to become a certified much data. That means you should go ahead and give the exam. What is that exam? TP203. Now, a question will definitely be asked by people. Siddharth, if I clear my exam, will I get a job? I'll tell you the very honest answer. Even if I clear my exam today and I go and apply interview, even I'll have to face an interview. Not only you, anybody has to face. The only thing that I have advantage is if there is someone next to me who is not certified versus certified engineer like me, I will be given priority. That's all. That is the only way that you should understand the certification. Certification means you are telling to the company that Not Siddharth or Visual Path has certified. Microsoft Azure has certified that I am a certified Azure engineer, data engineer to work on your project. So that is the only thing that you'll get a benefit. But beyond that, no, don't go beyond it. Now, what are the reverse steps that you have to follow? You have to follow the reverse steps that you have to first decide that you want to go ahead and use Azure for your data storage. That means you are trying to get the data stored as part of Azure. So you started to decide Azure data engineering, then you started to store your data as part of the Azure. Now, what I said, to store your data, you need to decide what kind of data, structured or unstructured. Then you will start storing, then you will start using services like Azure Cosmos DB, Azure SQL DB, Azure Storage. These are our storage services. Now Azure says, I know Siddharth, you will store data, but if you need to get the data into Databricks, you need a pipeline. Now go back to the first point that I've discussed with the real life example of water plant. So what happens in a water plant? Water plant processing water from lakes. What they do, they draw pipelines. Correct? What is that they do? They draw pipelines. What kind of pipelines? See, I'm not sure about it, but this is just a rough estimation of idea that I wanted to share. So from the river or a lake or a reservoir, they get the water, they add some chlorine and they mix it up well. And so all this, what is that you see here common? A pipeline. You see there is a pipeline coming in. There's a pipeline coming in. Now even for this data, we need a pipeline, right? We need a pipeline. So what is this pipeline concept in Azure? We call it as, in Azure we call the concept of pipeline as data factory. What is this data factory? Perfect example of this. You will see the water pulled via the pipelines. You get to see cleansing happening and it is being sent. So source to community. What is the source of water? Mountain water, river water, to community. That means people drink the water. Same way, the water to that of the data that is as part of the Azure storage, like in your SQL database, NoSQL databases, data lakes, uh, what you call it as Delta lakes, storage accounts. So you're keeping your data. Now we need a data factory to go ahead and pull that data, process that data. What is processing? You clean it, you extract, you transform, you load it, ETL services. Then what do? You will start analyzing with the first service of Azure, which is called Synapse. So Synapse is the something that Microsoft recommends that, hey, first you go ahead and start using Synapse. Then you do data warehousing with Synapse. That means you write SQL program. You build solutions around Synapse. You do data engineering with Synapse. You do processing with Synapse. So they're asking you to go ahead and focus on Synapse. Why? Because Microsoft own product. If you look into the Spark, you get to see Synapse. But also, if you go and type in SQL, you will still be able to see Synapse coming into the picture. So Microsoft is recommending that if you want to go ahead and use SQL, then you can use Synapse for your data warehousing. See, if you type in even data warehousing, you still get to see Synapse coming in. So Microsoft own product is Synapse. So Microsoft will definitely recommend that if you want to go ahead and become a data engineer for them, try to utilize Synapse. Synapse. At the same time, it is also very important in real life scenarios. Along with Synapse, Databricks is also being very popular. Now you say, why Kumar, when there is already Synapse, Databricks is coming up? I'll tell you the story. The story goes like this. If you look at the Apache Spark, if you open up the Apache Spark, even if you open up the Wikipedia for Apache Spark, there is someone who has created this, whose name is Mataya. Matai. He's a Canadian. He was born in Romania but is now part of. This guy was the one who started this Apache Spark, who developed in University of Berkeley. Now, if you go ahead and look at his current role, he is a he is basically the same person who started this company called Databricks. He is the one who started the Databricks company. Participants, you see the relation? He is a person. He was the person who developed this concept of Apache Spark. After a few years, the same person started this company called Databricks. If you look into the Databricks, you will see the relation. They are both related to each other. Now let's look at the Databricks. If you look at Databricks as a company was also set by this person called Matai. So Matai is the one who started this company called Databricks. So the point that I want to see is not about Matai. It is because he is the key person who developed the Apache Spark, was also the person responsible for getting this company Databricks. So if you are using Apache Spark, there is a very great chance that you may go ahead and use Databricks, or if the Databricks is using as a Spark solution, definitely you will get to see Apache Spark playing a vital role. So companies like Databricks are thoroughly promoting, they're constantly promoting to go ahead and use Databricks. Why? Because they are providing Apache Spark and it's free and open source. It's very much free. It's very much free. Anybody can go ahead and use it. But in order to go ahead and use Apache Spark, you need to go ahead and subscribe to them. So you can get in Microsoft Azure for free. But Microsoft Azure will not give you anything for free. Microsoft will bundle it, and that's how Databricks came into picture, and that's how Azure Databricks has come into picture. So participants, my suggestion on a personal note, I would suggest you to go ahead and build not only skills on Azure, Synapse, Data Factory, SQL databases, you also have to be very strong in Python, PySpark involving Databricks. Then only you can beat the competition. Though it is not part of the great part of the syllabus, because syllabus is all about Synapse. They promote Synapse a lot. But Databricks is also recommended. One, the real projects. In real projects, a lot of companies also use Databricks a lot when compared to Synapse. Because Synapse means you are trying to remain in Azure. Databricks means Databricks use in Azure, AWS, and GCP also. So Databricks has a lot of advantage. From there, if you build all these skills, and you are getting ready yourself for DP 203, go ahead and give your exam. The very great chance that you will be able to clear in one attempt. Then also start applying the jobs and focus that and show the companies that I am a skilled personal. I have great skill in handling the Azure with storage modules, data factory modules, Synapse modules, serverless modules, Spark modules, Databricks, lot of skills on Databricks, PySpark programming, Delta tables, Delta live tables, machine learning, lot of skills, streaming, then you are a great choice by the companies. So, participants, this is the journey that you will be traveling along with me, and very soon you will be called as a data engineer, not by Siddharth, not by Visual Path, by Azure, that Mr. X is now a certified data engineer by Microsoft Azure, and you will be expected to write the exam to be DP203. Now, with that, I'm coming to the conclusion for the agenda that I started, that what are the skills that you need to build to become yourself and to be called as an Azure data. I hope and I believe that I gave you a right path to get started. So, on this, thank you, participants. Now, it's time for us to take the questions. Can we take questions one by one? And also, please introduce yourself and also give me more about what you're looking for. Yes, please.
Hi, it's Chandrasekhar here. Okay. Hello. Hello.
Chandrasekhar, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Okay. This is regarding few questions regarding the course. Okay. Are we going to do any projects after completing the course?
Yeah. So the idea would be
Hello.
right after, yes, Chandra, I'm answering your question. So right after the
Okay.
account creation, you will be given
Mm-hmm.
time to go ahead and catch all the basics of Apache Spark programming, SQL programming. Then we will go ahead and focus on storage module. From there, we will go ahead and start into the processing part where our projects will get started. And by the end of the session,
Okay.
I'm going to give you some use cases, the case studies you'll be able to understand. So during the sessions, you will understand the various stages of a project, and by end of the project, you will get to see a use case where I will go demonstrate the entire use case to get the understanding of a project, full length project. Okay, and I would request you to do some projects by yourself also based upon the learnings that we have. I'll tell you what kind of projects that you should be able to do. Yeah, any other question, participants? Participants, open up. See, this is the time you might have been waiting for a very long time, maybe about a week or a day. Now it is a chance. You might ask me a question because what happens if you ask questions? Whatever the doubts that you had, I'll try to justify it. If you had some doubt which you are not sure of, I'll try to clear it. So this way, what will happen is that concept that you are not sure about to take a decision, at least you will have that clarity that yes, I got the question cleared. Whether I will take this exam, whether I will take this course is secondary. We will discuss it. We can discuss it. Yes, please
Yeah,
continue.
hi. Hi. Siddharth, this is Arun. Hello.
Yes, sir. Hi. Good morning to you. Please.
Hi, everyone. So I had a question about Azure Data Factory compared to Databricks, right? Azure Data Factory is more of a data integration, which where you'll be able to actually work with structured and unstructured data coming from from a source standpoint. So Databricks as a tool which is built on Spark can be deployable on Azure, even on AWS and GCP, right? So what special it makes on Azure, when you compare it with Azure and Data Factory, right? What is the difference between ADF and this Databricks?
Okay. Let me tell you the story
Hope
in a
that makes
very
sense.
easy to understand. Yes, yes. I'll give it. See, Spark is like or Databricks is like a big server that is ready to do your big data processing, readily available. Just visualize something like that. But there should be someone, right, to get the data to that server, right? The big server sitting in Azure,
Mhm.
right? That role will be done by your pipeline, which is Data Factory. Data Factory will not process it. Data Factory just gets the data from that source and give it to this big server that is available in Azure as Databricks. Now, what
So it
Databricks
builds
will
an
do?
ETL pipeline, you're saying, like, because I come from an ETL background, from Informatica
Correct.
Power Center and Informatica Cloud. So I'm comparing it with a ETL standpoint. When you have a drag and drop options, that would be available. Is it similar in ADF that you have you work on different sources and you do the drag and drop and you load the data? Is it something similar for ADF? And what
Very,
actually
very much
makes
similar.
different Databricks? Yeah.
Very, very much similar. So, if you just look at
Okay.
ADF solutions, there are tons of, if there are tons of what you call it as connectors, where, or if you just look at ADF connectors, there are tons of connectors that are available where it can pull the data from SQL sources, from sources like databases, data lakes. So it does connect 90 plus connectors that they have. So from these
Okay.
connectors, let me try to get those connectors. Yeah. So from these connectors, you are expected to go ahead and get connected to the data. See, from Azure Blob Storage, from Cosmos DB, from databases, from NoSQL databases, SAP, SAP, NoSQL, MongoDB, S3. So these are all the sources which are just like drag and drop. You just need to drag and drop those sources and connect, build a pipeline. And once these
Okay.
pipelines are built, then you are required to go and write into a target. Let's say I have a target. My target is nothing but a central storage, which is called data lake. I need to go and write the data into a data lake. See, here is the
Mm.
data lake. So what happens? You have kept your data as part of a source like a SQL database, where I just drag and drop, I built a pipeline and write my data into a data lake storage. This is where Mr. Databricks is gonna take the data from. And the data lake is a storage for everything, structured, unstructured, semi-structured, everything it starts to consume. So your capability as an ETL developer earlier now becomes very, very easy and smooth to move your data via the data factory pipeline just by dragging and dropping, and move the data from source to the sink and from sink into Databricks. Hope that answers
Okay.
your question. An example. You
Yeah,
see
that
here this
answers my
example.
question. Sorry to ask you a follow-up again. So that doesn't store any kind of a code, as in case of a database, right? In case of an ETL, when you do a drag and drop, you have a code stored in a database. In case of
Can I
a
answer you in
on-prem.
one line? Apologies.
Yeah,
Can I answer you in one line?
sure. Yeah.
Entire data factory is serverless. There is no server that you need to manage and monitor. Purely serverless. Hope,
Okay.
hope that answers your question. You don't
Yeah,
need
got
to
it.
write anything. Purely
Hmm.
serverless. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other question, participants? See straight away. Azure Data Factory ETL service available on your system, which is purely serverless for your data integration and data transformation. Yes.
Okay. So, Siddharth, I have a question. Okay. So, I want to understand what's the difference between data analyst and data engineer. And are data engineers and cloud engineers same?
Okay. Now, to answer this question, see, go. Let's go back to the concept of water plant. Now,
Mm-hmm.
there is someone. Can you mute yourself? You don't. Your
Yeah,
voice
yeah.
is overlapping. Right. Okay. Now let's assume there are two people. One who works into the factory to get the data moved, but also there should be someone also to verify the quality of the water. For example, he has to check the amount of chlorine, he has to check the amount of pH value, he has to check the water consumable, is still dirt available. So some laboratory analysis he has to do. Now if only one person is doing all this, that means if he is getting the data from water, building the pipeline, transforming it, getting it, now instead of making one person to do all the job, can't we split into two people? One person who is a qualitative analyst who is going to go ahead and check the quality of the water, that is drinkable, consumable, clear, clean, pH value, all these laboratory analysis to be done, versus the person who is involved in building a pipeline to get the water. So the same logic let's get applied here. Data engineer is the one who is going to get the data from a source, transform it, cleanse it, and get the data here. Now, what is the data analyst will do? Data analyst will sit on the other side. He will write a query to, let's watch what is the kind of query that he want to analyze. Is that because of the sales that has happened the last month, that their business did not go well? He's trying to analyze the data. No, then I'll go back to the data analyst and say, hey, for the last month I'm unable to go ahead and do any predictions, I'm not able to go ahead and get the value. My dear data engineer, can you go ahead and get me almost a year's data for me? So now the data engineer will go ahead and get the data for the last 1 year and give it to me, but the data will be very much processed part of it. Now what is that, every time as a data analyst I'm dependent on the data engineer, so we talk to each other. Hey, data engineer, as I am an analyst, I don't want to be dependent on you. Can you build some automated system? That means whatever I want, your system should be able to get it. If I want 1 week's data, your system should go ahead and get that 1 week of data, 1 month of data. Just so what he will do now, data engineer will think and start building a pipeline, and from that he will be able to process the data and give it to the data analyst. So data analyst and data engineers are now working together to solve a bigger problem. Hope that answers your question, Chandra.
Yeah, yes. Just cloud engineer are same as data engineer?
No, don't
Other
mix up the
difference?
cloud. Cloud engineer is very different.
Mhm. Okay.
Right.
And if you don't mind, I had a doubt regarding DevOps. Okay. Will you be able to make me understand in a shorter way what is DevOps?
Okay. Now, the concept of DevOps is a little off topic, but I'll try to help you out. Now, companies are not always focusing on data. They also have something like applications, like a application like a Spring Boot application or .NET application or a Java application, some kind of application they have to build. Now, for the companies to build this process, they go ahead and follow this concept of DevOps engineering. So, what is that DevOps engineering is all about? DevOps engineering is basically gonna help a company to get their code written by their developer, not the data. Data is different now. It's the code. Now the concept is code. Earlier, our concept was data. Now we are not focusing on data. In DevOps, what happens? The code is written, it is built, it is tested, and then it is released into various. This process continues continuously. Development team and operations team. Development team and operations team, they work together. That's how the concept of DevOps came into picture. So what they do, they go ahead and write the code like a what you call it as a Java code or a Python code. Someone will develop the code. Developer will write the code. They build it with the help of DevOps engineer. They will release it on a continuous basis. So for this, there are various tools and see hundreds of thousands of tools are available across the DevOps platform, like in your build, like in your Docker, Jenkins, Terraform. These are all the solutions that are available as part of that. But when it comes to data, data is a very different process. What we do, we go ahead and collect the data, we cleanse the data, we apply the ETL transformations, we transform the data, we get the outcome, we place it in a location, we get it in the form of structured, then we do data warehousing, SQL. That is on the data part. So data and code you need to treat for now separately, then you will understand the concept. DevOps concept focuses on code, data focuses on the concept, the data engineering focuses on the concept of data. Any other question, participants? Chandra, I hope I answered your
Yeah,
question.
yes. Yes, Siddharth, thank you very much for that, making me understand. And last time you given us a task in the last demo saying that just to check out the Naukri profiles and understand how things are working or how the market is. I've gone through them, okay, and I see that there is a lot of competition, or I don't know what's wrong, I mean, whether it's wrong or right. But for any advert, they are like 1,000 percentage of applications which are going out. Hope you also are aware about it. For a
Uh,
single position or 25 positions. Hello.
okay, okay, please continue. Yeah, yeah, I'm listening to you.
Yeah. So just wanted to know whether how would I stand out with them, or it's just they are like normally they are applying.
This part is not only for you. If that is set of 1,000 candidates, even if I apply, I have to cross definitely a 1,000 perspective. It's like a perspective that I have to cross those 1,000 participants. So don't worry, don't look at the competition. I'm telling you for sure one thing, you remember my word. If there are 1,000 participants, I'm telling you for granted 900 people will be definitely just applying a job, whereas your real competition is only about those 100 people. Why? Because if I am an employee, if I'm looking for an opportunity, I will just go ahead and apply that, assuming I will go ahead and apply the job and I might get a call, where I'm not serious about it. But there are some people who are very serious, who are constantly looking for opportunities, getting for opportunities. So the competition is for those 100 people. So the choices are, the companies will go ahead and will definitely look. See, gone are the days then the recruiters used to go ahead and use download your resume. Now they have something called RMS, Recruitment Management Solutions. The moment your file gets uploaded, they will go through it. They'll apply a filter, and whatever the standout that you have is based upon the resume. That will go ahead and give you a ranking. Based upon that ranking, you will get calls happen. So definitely this is an aftermath, but I'm giving you what happens here in the companies. They use some recruitment managed solutions based upon based upon the resume that you write, the projects you write, the keywords that you use. You'll get better ranking. And all about, once you get an opportunity, it is all about the day that you have an interview with your employee. it's a break or make situation on the day. So my suggestion is, don't go ahead and overlook the competition. Definitely there will be a competition, but it's not always the blocker for you. As much as a competition, equivalently you have opportunities also.
Okay, Siddharth, thank you for answering that. Now I understood why there are like a number of applications for that. So will you be able to guide us regarding the resume and exam guidance, like for the Azure certification? So will you be able to, or like we have to do it by our own for the certification guidance?
The entire syllabus that I just talked, as I've been sharing my screen, as I clearly mentioned when I started the session itself, that we are working on the learning path for the Azure DP 203 certification. These are the modules that we are covering up.
Okay, okay.
So it is that
Yeah, I
as much
understood.
as you go to a practice for your insights, you are basically making yourself learn for the examination. The target is to first get yourself learned in this way that you should be able to take the exam.
Okay, sure. Uh,
Yep.
Thank you, sir. Don't mind me asking these questions, okay, because I want to judge myself whether I'll be fit or not. Okay, just wanted to understand.
Appreciate it. No worries. Any other question, participants? Okay, so then we are good for the day.